Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk and a little Onslaught update. So I kind of sort of decided to do a little grounding, a little grinding of Onslaught. I guess I've played 3 or 4 evenings now. I think 3. I've cranked out a lot of battles, over 100 battles. We'll take maybe even 156. I don't know. There are stats, by the way. We'll look at that in just a second. So I kind of liked the rewards, and I figured, it's just wins. It looks like you can sort of, as I talked about in my last video, you're generally going to move upwards. I think when you get towards the champion and whatever the other legend or whatever it is, that's going to be hard to crack unless you're really doing quite a bit of winning. But I figured I could get to gold. Should be pretty easy. Well, last night when I started, I was just about to silver. As you can see, I'm now back to bronze. Kind of midway to slightly above midway. I had an absolutely miserable night last night. I went 12 wins and 22 losses, played probably well beyond where I should have, but I was just sort of curious and I had the time. How bad would it get? Well, it got pretty bad. Now, as I discussed in my last video, one of the things that I use to determine whether a mode is good or not, this is just Guido's personal preference, is whether or not you can play a mana core in it. Right? If it's tier 10, can you play a mana core and be competitive? Not really. Now, the last video talks a bit about, there's a couple maps where the mana core is useful, but not great. There's plenty of better tanks. I ended up playing the mana core quite a bit, more than I thought, actually. First 2 days, I kind of tried to stuff the square mana core peg into the round hole and played it on nearly every map. Last night, though, I started to play other tanks, the M4 thing, the 113, and a couple other tanks. But other than the M4, I didn't play a whole lot of meta tanks. And man, I'll tell you what, you really kind of need to. You're going to see a lot of Bobjects, you're going to see 60 TPs, VZ55s. You're going to see Super Conquerors on the hold down maps like crazy. IS-7s, and while I wouldn't say that's a meta tank overall, it's a pretty solid heavy for some of the flatter maps, the maps with the factories and things like that. So you're going to see a lot of the same maps. You're not going to see a whole lot of other things running around out there. Like, I've never seen a WZ-113. I've seen a couple stirs, but not many. There's some Badgers on occasion. I've never seen an ST2. I'm just looking at my list down here, just randomly grabbing a few of the tanks. What else have I not seen? I have seen Mouses and E100s, a decent number of Leopards, some E50s, E50Ms. I don't know if I've ever seen a Panzerwagen, any of the other lights. I have seen T100s. I have seen EBRs in terms of lights. I'm probably the only person I've seen play an actual mana core. Some of the hover mediums, not so much. 430s on occasion. I haven't seen a T62, a couple IS-7s. Some Badgers, those happen to be rentals, so you see some more of those in the IS-7s and the Patton rentals going on. There's also an IS-4 rental, it looks like, here as well. Some 50Bs. What else have I not seen? CS63s for getting around the map. I've seen those. I don't think I've seen a 121. Some 50-51s. A good number of STBs because of their hold down, especially on the hold down maps. I've seen a Type 5 once, and we won that game. Somebody was complaining about it. A couple Foch Bs, I guess you don't see 155s because the prize tanks are not, reward tanks are not on there. So you get the picture. They're some of the usual suspects. So if you want to maximize your chances, go with those tanks. Now, what I did not know, and I know now, and soon you will as well here, is there are statistics. If you go to the statistics page and then go over here to the battle mode, Onslaught is there. At the bottom, click on that, and you can see how you're doing. So I said 150, I was way off. 113. I was thinking about somebody else that had posted their stats. They had 150. 113 battles at a 46% win rate. Well, that is largely because of last night. It was 2 nights ago by the time you see this video. An absolutely horrible 12 wins and 22 losses. So right now, as we're at 52 wins and 61 defeats, those extra 10 losses that night took me away from 50%. So I was running a fairly decent win rate up to that point, although that was 30-something battles of the 113, so a third of them was done in one night. It's hard to make a lot of these graphics right here because as I look at these and I look at some other people, our numbers are pretty close. I think my damage caused and received is lower than most because of the mana core thing. Now that could be a large part of my losses. I think a lot of people are probably listening to me saying, well, obvious, duh. Some of it is there's no hit point pool for it. Its ability to sustain the fight is low once it gets brawling. It does have issues getting shots downrange, so overall it's not really a great Onslaught tank. But until last night, and I had been playing the mana core a lot before on the other 2 days, I was doing just fine. So we'll see if it was an anomaly, because I'm going to continue a little bit with the mana core on a couple of the maps. I have dialed it back. I did that last night as well. I started playing maps more, or tanks more appropriate or specific to the maps. There's a couple maps where I played the mana core. We're going to look at a little gameplay with the mana core just for giggles at the end, because I had some fun on a couple of the games. It was not fun to lose the 10 more than I won. There was a 6-game lose streak in there. None of that was fun, but overall it was a pretty cool mode. I like the 7v7. Numbers wise here, I don't know what to make of it. My hit percentage is high. These are tier 10s. That's pretty good. The battle survived 53%. Some of that, even at 46% win rate, that speaks to a couple battles, a handful of them in the mana core where I just ran off because we'd lost. Not a whole lot I could do. A lot of times I'd YOLO in and try to help if we were losing, but the mana core obviously doesn't last very long. Damage ratio is okay. Destruction, armor use is fairly low based on running the mana core so much. If we look at the infographics, you can see that I have almost half of my battles are in the light tank. 6 medium battles and then 54 and some kind of heavy. Got to go back to that. 861 defense points, which is higher than a lot of people I saw. Capture 159. Points of interest captured 50. That seems high because I do run the scout, so I grab that spotting thing quite a bit out there. It's got the speed to get to those spots. 1900, almost 2000 average damage, a little bit low I think from other people I've seen. They're more in the 2000s or slightly higher. Prestige 113 average. Experience 800 average. You can see the rest of the numbers there. I had a 5,000 damage game in my Mivy. I did play the M5Y quite a bit, especially on, I think it's Redfield or Westfield, where you're fighting on the hill right there in the middle. I like that tank. I think the Super Conk's probably better in that case. Basically the same DPM and reload and capability. The only thing is that the problem with the M5Y is if you put any kind of sideways look with the turret, it's butter. And with the Super Conqueror, you can actually bounce from a couple directions at once, which is not bad. I mean, if they go right into your side, you might be in trouble, but the M5Y just gets auto-pinned from any kind of side look to its little skinny turret. Anytime you turn and look somewhere else, they're popping the crap out of that turret right there. Plus, the hull is even, I think, worse than the Super Conqueror. So overall, Super Conqueror better than the M5Y, I would say. You see the rest of the numbers. So those numbers are there for you guys to check out if you want. What I would say about this mode is I think I'm going to continue. I'm going to dial back the speed at which I'm going. We'll jump in here real quick and show you where I am. I'm currently Iron Rank C Division. Like I said, I was bronze almost to silver when I started last night. I was up here just about to A or slightly over the line on A in bronze rank, headed to silver, and I dropped all the way back. I didn't quite get to debutante, but I was lower than this, and I kind of clawed my way eventually back to here on Iron Rank. This puts me at 52 victories. This next breakpoint is 60. That's about a third of the way through for 160, and this thing goes to the 20th of November. That's about 30 days roughly in there. So pretty good. If I did 5 a day, 5 wins a day, I would be well past what I need. So I wanted to front load that some, so if I missed a few days or whatever, and that way I could do an easier grind on some evenings, or if I had an evening to sit down and crank out 10, then I could stay a little ahead, that kind of thing. So 5 is my goal per evening, and if it's going well, I'm having fun, I might push on. Last night was just a bit of a test because I had a lot of time in the evening to crank through it. And I want to say I went from about 6 in the evening to about 10. So it was 4 hours for those 34 battles to get 12 wins. Now that's kind of a long time really, but it was gaming time I was going to have anyway, so no big deal. You are getting your battle pass points here as well. That's important. I did crank through a lot of battle pass in that. I'm up to 40, I think, on that one on the last chapter. So it's nice that that's happening in the background while you're also doing this and trying to get to these breakpoints and get all these goodies. I would really like to get the improved compressor. So there you go. Overall, kind of, I'm going to call it a mid-Onslaught review. Obviously, it's only a week or so into it, but I've played it enough now that I'm sort of getting the picture and the feeling. Man, if you're going to try to go all 30 days and stay in Champion and Legend rank, that is going to be an absolute grind, man. I mean, I only have 283 points total, and there's people with are they at 3,000 now? Let's find out. Go down here. They're up to 2,000 points. That's interesting. It looks like they're sort of topping out in that 2,000 point area. So I want to say they've been in this basic rating point area for a while. I expect that to continue to creep up just based on how the point system works. But maybe when you get to Legend rank, you're really just trading a lot of battles back and forth. We'll see how it works out when we get to the end, whether these rating points after the next 30 days are more, 5, 6, 7,000 or something like that. I'm not sure. I'll have to track that. I want to say they were already at 2,000 a couple days ago, so there was not a big change here. But 205 battles. So I'm at 113. This guy's at 205. I'd have to go look at his win rate. It's kind of interesting. Can I get to it? Yes, I can. Here we go. So let's just take a look at that right now. What is his win rate in Onslaught? 65%. So that's pretty dang good. Let's take a look at his numbers as compared to mine. He's hitting better. He's surviving more, I believe. Damage and destruction are not that far off. Armor's about the same. My base defense points are good, but his capture are way better. His damage is considerably more by 500. Received is more. What is he playing mostly? It looks like... Oh, he actually does play a little light here and there. I bet that's an EBR. Mostly mediums, actually. Very interesting too. So he's got a nice mix. Looks like that's probably the M454 thing right there. 91 of those. Some Italian autoloaders, I'd imagine. Where's the British? So it doesn't look like he's really doing a whole lot of super conk stuff. Very interesting. So we've got, what's his best game? 5,555. So not too far off of mine. Very interesting. So definitely better stats, but not that much. And the next question becomes, and I don't think that's on here anywhere, how much of this was platooned? I wonder how many of these guys are in super platoons. It's a good question. I don't know. All right, let's take a look at some gameplay with the Manicore. Redshire and Sand River are the two maps we're going to show you. They are the two maps I play the Manicore on the most. Let's just stop for a minute. One of the reasons I go here is I can immediately find out what the other team's doing. Notice that the other one's being captured as well. So I'm going to hit 9. Once you do that, that shows where everybody is. And because I'm not prepared, we're going to go ahead and get you guys sorted out for those people with the color blind issues. There we go. So we're going to head for this little hole right here. Bit of a mistake, actually. I'm a little bit surprised I didn't get shot because I was lit. I did learn to sort of fade back if I noticed the other one being grabbed and wait for him to kick it off. And I really like this little bush here. You can do a lot of good work. Notice 1,800 damage on spotting because the FV right there nuked the 50-51 that I spotted that was trying to grab the artillery spot. So I like this line of bushes from this spawn, from the north spawn, to kind of control that right there and keep them from popping up there. And if you have a sniper or two, they can punish them right there. Try to use your special abilities. I've got a 7 up. I kind of forget that quite a bit. When you're running the heavy tanks, you got a bat chat right there, so we'll pop in. When you're running the heavy tanks, a lot of them have a healing capability, and you're going to want to use that as much as possible. First of all, it brings hit points back, so every time it's available, use it, especially if you're damaged, obviously. It brings hit points back, and you get points for it and all that good stuff, so definitely use that. There goes the bat chat, by the way, so I'm up to 3,176. Now I need to be popping that number 7. I can light guys on the ridge. Just pause this for a second. If you do have a scout and you've got that number 7 with the spotting plane, just put it over where the guys are probably camping. And then also you can use it on the cap. Say nobody's spotting the cap and the enemy team's capping, but you have snipers who want to try to reset and all that good stuff. Make sure that you pop it right on the cap right there. So I'm going to move around for better shots. This is going to get me maybe spotted. I'll be ready to hide behind this building here. So this is the problem with light tanks. Yeah, I sort of did some things early on. I got some spotting. I helped kill 2 mediums that were pretty much out of the game anyway for a while. At least they're not over there sniping our guys in the side. But right now, I have no DPM and no armor, so my ability to affect the battle is pretty low right now. Yeah, I'm getting a shot every 13, 12 seconds or whatever the reload is, but this is really the critical problem with the light tanks here. You're not able to tank the cap or get in there and start brawling and punching people in the face. So that being said, if you are going to run a medium or a light tank like this, you got to make sure you get into the fight and you're shooting at least when you're reloaded. I probably could have moved up earlier to get up in here. I'm starting to think about it, I think, pretty quickly, because I get up in behind them. You'll notice that since there's so few tanks, it's easier to keep track of where everybody is. So we got your guys in the middle. I'm just going to see if I can find anybody who might be sitting up here. There we go. So we found the DZ sitting back there. So I'm pretty sure there's nobody, after I looked at what was going on there, I was pretty sure there was nobody hiding out back here. So I approach, I come up and over, and we've got some near deads and things. And now I can do the come through assassin idea. We nuke this guy on the way by. Problem with this, obviously, with a light tank or even with a medium, is you do have a limited hit point pool. So if you walk into a lot of guys who are reloaded and you go too early, you might suffer a bit from taking hits. There's a guy that just missed me, so I'm just going to go by him. The BZ's going to get a shot. He whacks me. He's going to get me again. It's only 2 of them left. Peak Chuck right here, my friends. Peak Chuck. He's just making it happen. We nuke this guy, and it's a pretty quick battle. Now, that is one of the best results I've had with the Mana Core, especially in terms of spotting. There's a limited hit point pool. The game is mostly a brawl around the cap. Yes, spotting can help on occasion, and it can be important in situational areas, but it is not the main thing on this battle. It's not like a proc where you would like to have a scout and you can do that careful scouting thing. This is really a more higher paced kind of thing. It did help us nuke 2 mediums and take them out of the game, but again, this map, the way this mode goes, that just was a bit of luck, especially the fact that they one-shot the poor... Which one was it? One of them got one shot. Not the Bat Chat, but the other one, the 50-51. So anyway, it's Chuck. Chuck doing Chuck things. There you go. Let's look at the other one. Just real quick from the south spawn on Redshire. I will do a similar thing in that I will grab the radio antenna, but I will actually from the south spawn go over to the artillery spot and try to see if anyone's coming that way. And again, look for shots across the map on a spotting situation. If nobody comes over there, I'll grab the artillery and then I'll move back to the ridge and try to start sniping from there. I don't really bother to go to the artillery thing from the other side because that row of bushes is so effective in countering any of them trying to get there. There's no analog from the south side, unfortunately. This is the other map that I will use the scout on occasion. On Sand River, there is an artillery spot here, and I'm obviously over on the west side for this one, but I will also use the scout on the east side. On the east side, I'll just knock that out real quick. I like to go up here onto this ridge and come up that little ramp and shoot them into the side right there and maybe spot if they're going to try to grab this artillery thing over here. If a medium or something gets in a brawl, I'll pop over and add my gun, my weight to that right there. But from this spawn, I'll come this way. It's so easy to protect yourself in that ramp area on the south part of the map right down here. So I do like that quite a bit. We'll grab this artillery. You can see the other artillery is being grabbed by the purple team. We'll do this and we'll get moving. What I have found, unfortunately, this game is pretty, I'll just use the word toxic even though I don't like that word, but there are a lot of people whining about tank selection, and I get it. There are certainly situations where, I break my track right there, unfortunately. There are very definitely situations where you want somebody to pick a better tank. Oh, making that guy miss one shot was huge. That leaves him 3. He's going to nail me, I think, at least once. There we go. So we get tracked. Get hit again. Oh, I repaired it just in time. I'm kiting this guy over. I'm thinking, come on, buddies, help me out. And he gets tracked and starts getting absolutely spanked. And Chuck doing Chuck things right there. Somehow came out of that with only taking 1 shot of damage, or 2. potentially. It looks like one shot of damage out of that whole thing. I think I just put the artillery... Did I just use the artillery strike? I think I did. No, I did. Not yet. I'm saving it. So now we'll come in here. This is what I like to do. Come in here and start shooting them from behind. It's nice that nobody is sitting up here sniping. But again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. This is really a cap-centric battle. There's not enough tanks to have too many snipers and not be in a really bad position. This guy is obviously new or something. I don't know. He's just not very good. He's sitting there and gets popped twice on the side. Probably could have got more bang for my buck trying to hit both the JPZ and the 268-4. It's unfortunate I didn't kill him, but there you go. Someone else got him. Damage after stun. We'll come in here and we'll see if we can shoot this guy. Unfortunately, it's front armor, so it's going to be really hard. Try to get to a little sliver of a lower plate and it doesn't work. He actually does a nice job. He's kind of watching what I'm doing. Watch this. I didn't even really know I was going to expose myself here. He just takes a little... Just smacks me. I'm like, oh! All I had to do was fade down the hill a little bit. It's tier 10, so those are the kinds of mistakes you got to be really careful that you don't make very many of. So I just lost a whole bunch of hit points that I really didn't need to lose just by being uncareful. And tier 10, man, it's just like that. You can see right now that we are winning. There are 4 of them dead. It's time to get in there and just finish this thing off. It is very unlikely their team is going to come back. I will tell you, this mode... There are very few close games in this mode. Vanishingly few close games. It's almost like the everything is a romple stomp is true. You know, the conspiracy theorists and everyone who says that, you know, every game I have is a blowout kind of thing. that is pretty true in Onslaught. Nearly every game is some kind of blowout, and even if it kind of looks close, it really wasn't. It's just the nature of the way this thing is built. Alright, I say, did we lose yet? And the Sturv laughs. I don't know if you noticed, I think I actually fast forward through it, and it's part of my comment earlier about picking a tank. I think I lost my train of thought what I was trying to tell you guys, but when I was talking about the toxic thing, I cannot tell you how many times people have complained about me taking a mana core. Now, when I load into the match, I select the mana core in the garage. I talked about that last video. That's what shows up initially. Then you get to pick a tank, and I look at the map and the situation, and I decide on a tank. But I'm usually flipping through, scrolling through the carousel, trying to figure out what I want to do. Now, if it's this map or Red Shard, I generally pick the mana core. Other maps, I'm looking for the tank that I want, but I don't necessarily click away from the mana core. And the complaining that goes on down in the chat, the absolute whining that happens is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. I wish the stats broke out my light tank win-loss rate, because I don't think it's because of the mana core necessarily. I'm a good enough player that I contribute pretty well in the mana core. I'm not saying I'm carrying game after game after game in the mana core, but it can win in this mode. But to be perfectly honest, and I know you guys know this, but I'm just going to say it again, is you are gimping yourself a little bit in your team by taking a tank like that, especially if you decide to do it through every map, right? So I have a reason that I use it on this map in Red Share. I have a plan that I use that seems to be fairly effective, if not amazing, and I don't have to play face punch brawl, which I don't know, man. I don't know. I ran into 13 Disciple in a game, and he was in his bat chat. Dude did 7,900 damage in that thing on El Haluf. I need to go grab the replay and look at where he was and what he was doing. Because frankly, at how fast that game went, and we were actually winning at one point and then they came back, I don't know how he did it. It was like magic. It was absolutely awesome. So I wouldn't say a bat chat is necessarily a tank you would go, ooh, that's meta on Onslaught. But on El Haluf, the way he played it, it was absolutely meta, and he carried all day long. It was really, really awesome. Anyway, there you go. My thoughts on Onslaught. I don't think I actually get this. Yeah, I find him, but I don't get him dead. Yeah, there he is. So he's raging around. He's salivating. He's like, oh, all I need is one HE shot, and I can nuke this mana core and get a kill. But it doesn't happen because the game is over. So there you go. A little follow-up on Onslaught. I'm going to keep going. I'll obviously dial back a little bit. I may have a couple bursts in gameplay along the way, or there's still 30 days for you guys to get this done, or give or take a day, depending on how many days are in this month. I don't know. October 31st, I should know. It's my birthday. So there you go, 31st. There's an extra day chucked in there. By the time you see this, it should be about 30 days left, 29, something like that. So even if you really haven't even started, if you could get 10 wins, that's not true, 5 wins a day, you can still do this thing, right? It's going to be a little over 5 wins a day. All right, let me know what you guys think about Onslaught. Is anybody playing it? Do you like it? What kind of changes do you think would make it better? All that kind of good stuff. That's all I've got. Thanks for tuning in. Good job, Chuck. We will see you.